So you're staring at a textbook chapter on management theories, and you've probably seen the diagrams.
Oh yeah, the classic pyramids and charts.
Exactly. And you've memorized the rigid definitions, you know the exact shape of the pyramid, but then, you flip over a past exam paper and you completely freeze.
Happens all the time.
Because the exam scenario isn't asking you for a copy-pasted definition. It's asking you how to actually apply these, like, ancient theories to a modern, breathing workplace.
Right, it's a completely different skill.
And if you are a 23-year-old reviewing flashcards on your morning commute, or, maybe you're a 38-year-old professional desperately trying to cram a study session into your lunch break, you are probably looking at these pages thinking, how does any of this help me pass?
It feels completely disconnected.
It really is. It's the ultimate disconnect between textbook theory and the reality of the exam hall. So how do you turn a 1940s psychological theory into guaranteed marks on your exam and, real-world business strategy?
Well, that is exactly the hurdle we have to clear today. Moving from academic theory to practical, examinable reality.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today's focus is squarely on the ACCA Paper BT, that's Business and Technology, and we are tearing into the topic of motivation.
It's a big one.
We are giving you a masterclass in applying both Maslow and Herzberg to real businesses. We're moving far beyond those standard textbook examples.
Yeah, we're leaving the textbook behind today.
Because this deep dive was crafted specifically for you to help you bridge that gap wherever you are studying in the world right now. So let's just start at the very beginning and strip away all the academic jargon. What are we actually talking about when we say Maslow and Herzberg?
Okay, so we are looking at two distinct ideas based on observing human behavior. They basically act as roadmaps for what motivates people.
Okay.
For Abraham Maslow, needs exist as a hierarchy. A need is only important until it is satisfied, and then boom, the next need takes priority.
Right.
Frederick Herzberg, on the other hand, gives us the two-factor theory. This separates the workplace into hygiene factors that cause dissatisfaction if they're missing, and motivators that actually drive performance.
Okay, let's unpack Maslow first, because I think people get tripped up on this. A hierarchy where you have to satisfy the bottom before moving up. If you play video games, you know exactly how this works.
Oh, I like where this is going.
It's exactly like a video game skill tree. You cannot unlock the high-level epic perks until you've cleared the basic foundational levels.
That's a great way to put it.
Right. The game literally blocks you from caring about the top tier until the bottom tier is complete.
That visual works perfectly. You are locked out of the higher levels of motivation until those baseline requirements are fulfilled. And then, you have Herzberg's two-factor model, which it operates a bit differently.
That's so.
Well, Herzberg says that certain things in the workplace, like company policy or basic working conditions, are hygiene factors. If they are poor, employees are miserable. But if they are excellent, employees aren't suddenly inspired to work harder. They aren't actively angry.
So Herzberg is kind of like reviewing a restaurant.
Okay.
A clean table, which is the hygiene factor, isn't going to make me write a glowing 5-star review. But a sticky, dirty table will absolutely make me walk out.
Exactly.
To get the 5 stars, you need the actual motive, like incredible food and exceptional service.
That captures the two-factor theory beautifully. You need the hygiene factors just to keep people in the building, but you need the motivators to get them to actually perform. But here is what's fascinating about all of this, and it's a detail from our sources that tends to catch students completely off guard.
What's that?
Maslow never actually intended for his theory to be directly applied to workplace management.
Yeah. Wait, really? The guy whose pyramid is printed in literally every single business and management textbook on the planet never meant for it to be used in an office.
Nope. He originally developed it as a broad observation of human behavior in ideal conditions.
That is wild.
Yeah, he was looking at humanity from a clinical, psychological standpoint. He was mapping out human potential. He certainly wasn't trying to figure out how to help middle managers boost their quarterly sales numbers.
That is quite the pivot. It's like finding out the person who invented the steering wheel was just trying to make a really interesting dinner plate.
That's exactly what it is. But obviously, the business world took that psychological framework and just ran with it.
Well, yeah, because it works, right?
They did, because it turns out that understanding fundamental human psychology is incredibly useful for management. It provides a highly effective lens for understanding what actually drives employees when they sit down at their desks.
Which brings us to the core issue for our listener. Why do examiners love this topic so much? I mean, If it wasn't even meant for the office, why is it such a cornerstone of the ACCA Paper BT syllabus?
Because a highly motivated workforce is the single distinguishing factor between a successful organization and a failing one.
It's that simple.
It really is. The examiner knows that in the real world, you can have the most advanced technology, an ironclad business model, and massive funding. But if your staff are entirely unmotivated, the organization will eventually collapse.
Wow.
Examiners test this because they need to know you understand the human engine that drives the business.
And from what I understand, they don't just want you to recite the definitions we just went over.
Not at all.
They test this by forcing you to diagnose a problem. They'll give you a specific workplace scenario, like maybe an underperforming department or a team with high turnover, and ask you to identify which specific level of the hierarchy is being met or which Hertzberg hygiene factor is being ignored.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You are stepping into the role of a consultant. You have to read the scenario, identify the missing motivational link, and apply the correct theoretical label to the actual problem.
I have to admit, there is a dry irony to the way this plays out.
How do you mean?
Because nothing says self-actualization quite like sitting in a freezing exam hall, answering multiple-choice questions about your ultimate human potential.
Okay, yeah. The setting might be ironic, but the skill it tests is vital. It proves you understand that employees are complex and that their needs shift over time depending on their environment.
All right, now that we know why the examiner is hunting for this, let's break it down systematically. Let's look at how these theories actually apply in a modern business context, using the specific steps from our source text. We'll do this in 3 clear parts.
That's good.
Let's start with part 1, the basics. This covers Maslow's physiological and safety needs and Hertzberg's hygiene factors.
Right. So in the modern developed world, most of us are fortunate enough not to be hunting for actual survival in the wilderness.
Hopefully not.
Right. In the workplace, your regular salary is what buys your food, your drink, and provides your physical shelter. That is the physiological baseline.
And then security sits just above that, which, again, isn't about hiding from predators.
No. Security in a modern organization is provided through the structures that remove the anxiety of survival. We are talking about formal contracts of employment, pension plans, and medical insurance provisions.
Those structural safety nets.
Exactly. These act as the safety net. And tying this to Hertzberg, these basic conditions like salary and job security are prime examples of hygiene factors. If a company fails to provide a reliable paycheck or basic job security, the employee is deeply dissatisfied.
Simply put, your baseline survival and your basic frustrations are managed by your paycheck and your benefits.
So that is the foundation, yes.
But as we know, a paycheck alone doesn't create a highly motivated workforce, so what's next?
That brings us to part 2, the middle. This encompasses social and love needs, followed by esteem needs. To fulfill social needs, companies with highly motivated workforces actively encourage teamworking. When people collaborate, it builds stronger interpersonal relationships between both managers and subordinates.
And our source material notes that those stronger relationships often translate directly into higher work output. It isn't just about making friends, it's a strategic operational advantage.
Beyond just project work, companies will subsidize things like company parties, outings, staff social clubs, and sports societies. These initiatives encourage strong bonds outside the immediate stressful pressures of the workplace.
And once you feel like you belong to the group, you reach the esteem need.
Right. Esteem is about satisfying the individual's need for recognition. The simplest and most immediate way this happens is a manager recognizing good work and genuinely saying, thank you. But successful companies formalize this by giving regular constructive feedback through formal performance appraisals.
Simply put, people need to feel they belong to a community and are recognized for their specific contributions.
It covers the middle ground perfectly.
Yet, even with great friends at the company sports club and a glowing performance appraisal, there is one final peak to conquer.
And that is part 3, the peak. Self-actualization. In Hertzberg's terms, we are now dealing with the highest level motivators. This is achieved when an employee is able to fulfill their absolute maximum potential.
But why is this specific level so powerful for an employee's psychology? I mean, what is the actual mechanism making them work harder?
Because it shifts the nature of the work from a series of tasks to a form of personal identity and expression. When a company removes the ceiling on promotion and heavily invests in an employee's continuous education and training, they are giving that person autonomy.
Oh, I see.
The employee isn't just following orders anymore. They are mastering their craft and proving to themselves what they're capable of achieving.
Simply put, It's about becoming the ultimate version of your professional self.
That is the peak of the mountain.
But let me push back on this progression for a second.
Sure.
Looking at how businesses actually operate, isn't esteem or even self-actualization really just about getting a massive financial bonus? Like, if a company really values my ultimate potential, shouldn't they just write me a much bigger check?
You'd think so. But our source text explicitly warns against relying entirely on financial incentives.
Really?
Yeah. Financial recognition, in the form of bonuses, is certainly one way to recognize performance. However, the provision of only financial incentives can often create far more problems than it solves.
Because it turns the job into a purely transactional relationship.
Exactly that. Purely financial motivation creates a cutthroat environment where people only work for the next payout. The second a competitor offers a slightly larger bonus, that employee leaves.
Wow, yeah.
There is no true commitment to the organization's mission or culture. That is why successful organizations utilize innovative, non-financial methods to motivate their teams.
So we have the theory broken down. But to really get this to stick for the exam, we need to ground this theoretical breakdown into specific, globally recognizable business examples.
Good idea.
Our source material gives us some fantastic, concrete scenarios. Let's walk through them, starting with the early career angle.
Okay, let's look at a globally recognized environment like McDonald's. When an employee there works hard and provides high levels of customer service, they are awarded stars, which they proudly wear on their uniform.
It sounds so simple, almost deceptively so. But that is a real-world application of the esteem need.
Right.
It's a visible, tangible marker of recognition that their peers and the customers can clearly see.
It fulfills the individual's need to be recognized for their specific hard work without relying purely on a cash bonus. Now let's scale that up and look at a mid-career or company culture angle. The source text brings up Richard Branson and the Virgin Group.
This example is fascinating when you think about the logistics.
Branson is described as a master at getting the most from his entire workforce. The Virgin Group has thousands of employees globally. But despite that massive scale, employees are regularly invited to barbecues or drinks parties at his actual house.
At his house.
Yeah, not all at the same time, obviously.
The catering budget alone would be absolutely staggering.
It would be. But the point is, the founder of the company is taking the time to personally welcome them and thank them for all the hard work they do.
And according to the source, this leads to many staff having a significantly higher level of commitment to the Virgin Group than employees at other similar organizations.
Absolutely.
It completely covers the social need by creating an exclusive community gathering, and it heavily hits the esteem need because a globally recognized billionaire is personally validating your effort.
And if we look at the senior professional angle, self-actualization takes a different form.
What does that look like?
For senior roles, it might look like the company giving the executive broad discretion in how they interpret their own job roles. It enables the individual to truly put their own stamp on a job, shaping the strategic direction of the company based on their own unique vision.
So, on an exam, the question might literally present a scenario describing a CEO inviting staff to a summer barbecue and personally thanking them. And you'd need to instantly identify that as a strategy fulfilling social and esteem needs.
Exactly. You are diagnosing the management strategy in real time.
I do have a strategic question about the Branson example, though.
Go for it.
Inviting thousands of people to your house for a barbecue over the course of a year requires an immense amount of time, energy, and money. Why wouldn't someone at that level just send a beautifully written mass corporate thank you email to everyone?
Because a mass email does not fulfill an esteem need. The source text provides a brilliant historical parallel to explain the psychology behind this.
Oh.
It notes that the military were probably one of the initial exponents of this idea through the awarding of medals for bravery.
That puts a very different perspective on it.
Think about the psychological weight of a tangible, personal token of esteem. A military medal is literally just a small piece of metal and ribbon.
Right.
But the meaning behind it, the public, official recognition of extraordinary effort and sacrifice is immensely powerful. A personal barbecue invitation from the founder, or stars earned on a uniform, carries a psychological weight that a BCC'd mass email simply never will. People want tangible proof of their value.
That distinction makes a lot of sense. Okay, let's pivot from what the theory is to how students completely fumble it on exam day. What is the single most common mistake you see students making when this topic appears?
I will say it's straight. Very few students actually ever understand how to apply these theories to the workplace. The single biggest mistake is that students simply memorize the literal examples given in the examination textbook and stop there.
Meaning they write down food and shelter as the primary motivators in a modern corporate office.
Yes. They fail to translate those fundamental academic concepts into their modern workplace equivalents.
Because writing on your paper BT exam that your employer needs to provide physical shelter makes it sound like you are building a pillow fort under your desk, not negotiating a standard employment contract.
Right, exactly. It shows the examiner that the student has memorized a book, but they have absolutely no idea how a business actually operates.
So how do we fix it?
To fix this mistake, you must always map the academic theory to the corporate equivalent. Instead of saying physiological needs are food and water, you state that physiological needs are met by a regular salary that allows the employee to purchase food and water.
And instead of saying the safety need is protection from physical harm from a predator, you say security is provided through employment contracts, pensions, and medical insurance.
You have to build that bridge for the examiner. And this trap applies equally to Herzberg's two-factor theory. If you don't connect the abstract concept of hygiene factors to modern compensation, benefits, or office culture, you will not secure the marks.
This is exactly what we mean by getting a shortcut to being well-informed. Let's crystallize this entire deep dive into actionable, fail-proof exam rules. Thinking about the student taking this exam tomorrow, how do we translate everything we've just discussed into guaranteed marks? Give us tip number 1.
Tip number 1. Always link basic needs directly to modern compensation. When discussing Maslow's physiological or safety needs, or Herzberg's hygiene factors, immediately write down salary, medical insurance, and pensions. Never leave it at food and shelter.
And I imagine that leads directly into how they should view the non-financial perks for the next tip.
Tip number 2. Remember that successful organizations innovate with non-financial motivation. Use examples like subsidized social clubs or uniform stars. Remember that relying purely on financial bonuses can actually cause more problems than it solves in terms of long-term employee commitment.
What about the phrasing in the questions themselves? Are there specific clues students should be hunting for?
Tip number 3. Look for trigger words. If an exam scenario uses phrases like no ceiling on promotion, or giving an employee discretion in their job role, or opportunities for education and training, those are your ultimate flashing light trigger words for self-actualization.
That is huge. If you are a younger listener, maybe you're 23 and studying on the train right now, I want to offer you some genuine encouragement. You already know how this works from navigating your own life.
Very true.
You know what it feels like to need a paycheck to cover rent, to want friends at work to make the day go faster, and to crave a promotion to prove your worth. Trust your instincts. You understand human motivation. You just need to apply the formal vocabulary to this scenario.
And if you are an experienced professional, maybe 38, and squeezing this audio in on your lunch break, you have a massive advantage. You have already lived through these management strategies in your own career. You've seen the financial bonuses that worked and the forced team-building exercises that didn't. Just put the formal academic label on what you already know to be true from your own professional experience.
So the next time you see a 1940s psychological theory sitting there on your paper BT exam, you won't freeze. You will know exactly how to diagnose the problem and apply the theory to a modern business. Motivation isn't just about what a company pays. It's about how they empower you at every single level of your journey.
We want to take a second to directly and genuinely thank our global audience. We know how incredibly difficult it is to balance real careers, real family lives, and the relentless pressure of ACCA exams.
It's a lot.
It is. The fact that you are taking the time to listen and improve your understanding means you are already on the path to success.
Please take a moment to follow us on Spotify, and if you found this deep dive helpful, leave us a review. It really helps us out. But before we go, consider this. We've talked about the traditional climb from job security up to self-actualization. But with the massive rise of the gig economy and remote freelancing, is the hierarchy flipping upside down? Are people today choosing the autonomy and self-actualization of being their own boss first, even if it means sacrificing basic job security?
That is a great question.
It's something to think about the next time you log on for work. Keep questioning, keep connecting the dots, and keep digging deeper.
Thank you for listening.